What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick, somehow still sick cactus, so I apologize for the voice, but my health is somehow deteriorating faster than the Destiny franchise. But today, oh my goodness, we have some more incredibly important information that has been coming out about the massive Destiny 2 and Bungie debacle that has happened over the past few days. So, here is a quick timeline to get everyone up to speed. Initially, we heard about a wave of layoffs hitting Bungie, and we heard this from the employees themselves who were affected taking to social media. After that, it was reported that the next major expansion for Destiny 2, the Final Shape, which is currently slotted for February 2024, would be delayed all the way till June 2024. Now, I did do a video on that initial wave of information. If you want even more information on that initial wave, check it out, it's linked up above. After that, we got even more information specifically about the layoffs themselves, more information about which departments were affected and the underhanded and shady ways that these layoffs apparently took place. A great example is that they all happened on the 30th of October, and this was apparently done because your benefits run out at the end of the month, so people would only have one single day to claim some of those benefits. Again, did a video on that stuff linked up above. Now, after that, here is the third massive wave of news and information, and that's what we're going over in this video. So, a huge article was dropped by Jason Schreier, a very well-respected journalist within the gaming space. He has often reported on the inner workings of Bungie before, and he's always been right, so this is a very trustworthy source. Now, this article, as well as another article we're going to go over later in this video, get into why all of this is happening. So here's the title. Sony's Bungie game unit cut 8% of staff after Destiny play wilted, with the main points being sales at studio were running 45% below projections for the year, and layoffs are a part of a bigger revamp at Sony PlayStation unit. So let's dive into this. It says Bungie's decision to cut an estimated 100 jobs from its staff of about 1,200 followed dire management warnings earlier this month of a sharp drop in the popularity of its flagship video game Destiny 2. Just 2 weeks ago, executives at the Sony-owned game developer told employees that revenue was running 45% below projections for the year, according to people who attended the meeting. Now, a lot of people have been quick to go, oh my goodness, it's down 45%. Destiny 2 is truly dead and buried. However, pay attention to that actual metric. It is not 45% lower than last year, right? It is 45% below projections. So you've got to stop and think, is there any reason why Bungie would potentially overestimate their earnings for 2023? Well, yes, there is. You got to remember that the Sony purchase went through in summer 2022. So the Witch Queen was already out at this point. And it's of my personal opinion that Bungie was just trying to get a bigger bag for Sony. So of course it's telling Sony, oh my goodness, our projections for Lightfall and this year are insane. This is going to be our best selling DLC ever. And then when Lightfall disappointed, things really look worse than they would have otherwise have been. So this 45% number is not good in the slightest, guys. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's a little bit based on over-exaggerated 2023 earnings to make themselves look better than they potentially were to a potential buyer. Now, I may be crazy for saying this, but my tweet saying this got liked by one of them Bungie employees who was let go. So, you know, internally, apparently there's a thought actually agreeing with me as well, so that's very interesting. But let's continue with the article. CEO Pete Parsons pinned the big miss on weak player retention for Destiny 2, which has faced poor reception since the release of its latest expansion, Lightfall. The next expansion, The Final Shape, was getting good, not great feedback, and management told those present that they planned to push back the release to June 2024 from February, according to the people who asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. The additional time would give developers a chance to improve the product. In the meantime, Parsons told staff Bungie would be cutting costs such as travel, as well as implementing salary and hiring hiring freezes, the people said. Everyone would have to work together to weather the storm, he said, leaving employees feeling determined to do whatever was needed to get revenue back up. Now, honestly, hearing all this, this is going to sound very weird, but it's just how I'm feeling. I'm kind of proud of the Destiny 2 community for standing up to Bungie and not just throwing money at the game when it's delivering a subpar product. Lightfall was undeniably a disappointment, and although some things like Strand actually made the game, in my opinion, quite a bit better, Strand aged like a fine wine. It's very fun to use right now. Like, there are many elements of Lightfall and the seasons that have followed that have not been that great. And instead of focusing on delivering a good product, Bungie management seems to be focusing on absolutely monetizing the crap out of the game. And this is showing that it's not working, that you can't get away with doing that, that at the end of the day, you have to deliver good content. And that, in my opinion, is again something to be proud of. The sad part is that instead of actually affecting those responsible, Bungie management, and the second article we're going to go over is going to even more reinforce that it's Bungie management responsible, not Bungie as a whole, not the devs as a whole. It's the lower level employees that are getting impacted, they're getting laid off, when in reality, it should be Pete Parsons taking a darn pay cut. But in any event, let's continue with the article. It says, but on Monday morning, the news got worse. Dozens of staffers woke up to mysterious 15-minute meetings that had been placed on their calendars, which they soon learned were part of a mass layoff. Bungie laid off around 8% of its employees, according to documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Bungie didn't respond to requests for comment. Employees who were let go will receive at least 3 months of severance and 3 months of Bungie-paid Cobra health insurance, although other benefits, such as expense reimbursements, ended Monday, sending some staff racing to submit their receipts. Laid-off staffers will also receive prorated bonuses, although those who were on a vesting schedule following the Sony Group Corp's acquisition of Bungie in January 2022 will lose any shares that weren't vested as of next month. The layoffs are part of a larger money-saving initiative at Sony's PlayStation unit, which has also cut employees at studios such as Naughty Dog, Media Molecule, and its San Mateo office. So that last part there is actually pretty important because that actually confirms Paul Tassie's source that we went over in yesterday's video that talked about that loss of shares, that, you know, you had incentives for staying with the company and you would get shares after a certain amount of years, but if you were laid off, which is what's happening, those shares just revert to Bungie. So that is pretty crazy. In any event, we end here. TD Cohen analyst Doug Kruetz wrote in a report Monday that events over the last few days lead us to believe that PlayStation is undergoing a restructuring. PlayStation President Jim Ryan announced last month that he plans to resign. Many of the layoffs at Bungie affect the company's support departments such as community management and publishing. Remaining Bungie staff were informed that some of those areas will be outsourced moving forward. Yeah, good luck outsourcing for Destiny 2's community management. Literally one of the most passionate fan bases out there, period. That is just a recipe for disaster, man. However, moving on from there, we have another big article on the situation with some supplemental information from IGN. With the title, Bungie CEO claims layoffs were due to Destiny 2 underperformance. So it begins, in an internal town hall meeting addressing a Monday round of layoffs that impacted multiple departments, Bungie CEO Pete Parsons allegedly told remaining employees that the company had kept, quote, the right people to continue to work on Destiny 2. Now, I've already seen this particular quote that they kept the right people responded to with some of the Bungie employees that were laid off going, oh, great, like, I guess we weren't the right people. Kind of not the best way to say that, especially when Pete Parsons, his official statement on the matter is that the employees let go were exemplary and so fantastic. Well, apparently they weren't the right people though, so which is it? However, we continue. Speaking to multiple current and recently laid off employees, IGN has confirmed reports that Bungie took responsibility for the layoffs rather than laying them at the feet of parent company Sony. Parsons told employees that the layoffs were largely due to the underperformance of Destiny 2 over the last year, as well as lower than expected pre-orders for the upcoming Final Shape expansion. IGN can now independently confirm reports that the Final Shape has been delayed to June 2024, and Marathon has been internally delayed to 2025 after having been in development since 2019. Next up is one of the most important parts of this article. Employees were told that Destiny 2 player sentiment was at an all-time low. Sources tell IGN that this issue has been flagged to leadership repeatedly for months prior to layoffs, with employees begging for necessary changes to win players back. So this is what I was alluding to earlier. We always make fun of Bungie for saying, we're listening, we're listening. Well, it turns out they were listening all the time, right? It says employees begging for necessary changes. Who's not listening? Management. And as a result of them not listening, they missed their projections and then they blame it on their staff. Like, okay, guys. Next up, it says one former Bungie employee recalled that they were repeatedly assured following the 2022 Sony acquisition of Bungie that there would be no layoffs, and cited an item from a Sony quarterly report that claimed 1.2 billion of the 4 billion acquisition was going explicitly towards staff retention. Multiple employees confirmed that money was distributed to employees who were fully vested, with money split into multiple payments over time and varying based on discipline and seniority. Other employees also told IGN they felt especially frustrated with the layoffs given that the company had completed work on a brand new headquarters, more than double the size of its previous office, and likely a pricey upgrade in Bellevue, Washington. And actually, I have a picture here of what this is supposedly going to look like, and I think it was something like a $200 million investment in this new headquarters, which again is receiving a bunch of criticism because everyone just works from home now. Like, Bungie has released articles bragging about how good their work from home accommodations are, so why are you spending all this money on a big headquarters that no one's going to go to, right? Like, what a disaster. Now, moving on from there, the article goes over a lot of the stuff we already talked about in the first article, but then we do get some new information with IGN saying that they have been told that a noticeable number of employees have been dismissed from the QA team in the weeks and months leading up to yesterday's layoffs. While the exact number is unknown, the number of departures over time were notable enough that the company's head of QA sent an email around to staff members addressing the situation. IGN has reviewed the email, which claimed that the dismissals were not layoffs and not a result of cost cutting in any way, which is obviously a lie, adding, if we ever did layoffs, we would be very upfront about it. Wow, so they were like slowly getting rid of people in the QA department, which, first of all, if you're getting bad reception for your upcoming DLC, why would you be cutting QA? These are the people you need giving feedback on your upcoming DLC, and then saying, guys, we're not going to just randomly lay people off one day with no warning. And then they did exactly that. Wow. And so, guys, there you have it. That is pretty much all of the big new information that has been coming out as of late, and things are simply not looking good at Bungie. Hopefully, management can actually take a little bit of a look in the mirror here, and especially with all the ruckus that's being created by the community, honestly, overall, this is a good thing. Like, you don't want Bungie to be able to lay a bunch of people off and then no one talks about it, and they let this kind of slide under the rug. Now, the focus has really been turned back on Bungie, back on management, especially with these employees coming out and saying, we have told them so many times that the players are upset and they won't listen to us. Because guess what? Bungie management is actually accountable to someone finally, and it's Sony. So Sony could be looking at all this going, hey guys, what's going on here? Like, what is this I'm reading about your employees begging you to make changes and then you ignoring them? Is that why you missed targeted projections by 45%? So, I mean, hopefully, finally, Bungie management comes under a little bit of pressure here for making these bad decisions. But that's where we're at right now. Of course, guys, I will keep you updated. And hopefully the next time, if I have to make another video, I can talk normally for once I get over this. Apparently I have the bubonic plague or something like this, because this thing is just not going away. Guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.